Okay, I have the sprite that is going to represent one life created in Piskel. If you notice, I'm looking at it actual size here in my preview window. That 1x means actual size. I've got this one set at 16 by 16 pixels. You can make it smaller. I wouldn't make it much larger. You want the player to be able to see it, but to understand that it is not part of the current level, that it's part of their user interface, the things that are not elements of the game that they interact with. So I've already downloaded it, so I'm going to go to Game Maker. I'm going to create new sprite. I'm going to name it lives_SPR, and I'm not going to click load sprite. I'm going to click edit sprite. I'm going to import it, clicking the first file folder, and that takes care of that. Now, I'm also going to create an object, but I'm not going to attach that sprite to the object in the way that we normally do. Lives_obj. Do not select that sprite, because when we place this object in the room, it's not going to be visible. It's going to be an invisible object that is going to tell Game Maker to draw the number of lives on the screen in a certain location. So in order to do that, first we need to set the number of lives. So when this object is created, which means when the room it's in begins, we are going to go to our Score tab, and we are going to tell it to set the number of lives that the player has. So I'm going to give my player 5 lives. Click OK. Now, in order for our player to know how many lives he or she has, we are going to tell the computer to draw the number of lives on the screen. And we're going to use this button for our action. It's called Draw Live Images. Now, currently it's set to draw it in the very uppermost left corner of our game window. Because that's going to be pressed right up against the border of our game, it's going to make it not look as good as if we move it in just a little bit, move it down just a little. So I'm going to move it over by setting my X value to 10 pixels. And I'm going to move it down a little by setting my Y value to 10 pixels. And the sprite that I want to use to draw my lives is my live sprite that I just created. Click OK. OK. Now, the only problem with what we've done so far is if you play your game at this point in time, we're going to have some problems. The first problem is the most obvious. There are no lives appearing in my window. In order to make the lives appear, we actually have to put the lives object in our room. Now, because we've told the computer to draw the lives in the top left corner of the room, it doesn't really matter where in the room we place the lives object, as long as it doesn't interfere with the objects we already have. So I'm just going to plop it down right there. Click the check mark. And then when I go back to play my game, it should create the room, which will create the object, which will draw the lives in the top left corner of my screen. Notice I'm down 10 pixels and in 10 pixels, and this looks a little bit better than being right up in the corner. Now the second problem is when I play my game and my character dies, it did not remove a life. So what you need to do now is take a look at your code and see if you can figure out what you need to do in order to have a life disappear when your player dies.